Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, your weekly news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and broadcast on Trinity TV and TTT. My name is Neil Parsonlal. Here's a look at this week's top stories. Sister Roberta O'Flaherty dedicates a Hummingbird Gold Medal to the Credo team and Holy Faith Sisters. She hopes the award will help raise awareness and bring in some much-needed funding. Communities of Santa Rosa and Malabar walk for peace, love and unity. They are hoping young people will see there are alternatives to crime. After 14 years of closure, the St. Francis of Assisi RC Church in Belmont has been reopened. His Grace says the journey now starts. And later we talk with Vicar General Father Martin Sergiu on a range of issues affecting Trinidad and Tobago. And now for our top story. Sister Roberta O'Flaherty says she is grateful and honored to have received the Hummingbird Gold Medal for her more than half a century of service to education in this country. She told Altos she is dedicating the award to the team at the Credo Foundation and Holy Faith Sisters, without whom she could not have achieved what she did. Sister Roberta is also hoping that the award will raise awareness of the work being done by Credo and will spur both business and government to consider some kind of funding to assist the work of the foundation. Roger Sant has more in this report.
Sister Roberta of the Holy Faith Congregation said she felt deeply honored and had a great sense of gratitude when she was told that she was being awarded the Hummingbird Medal Gold in the sphere of education and community service in Trinidad and Tobago. The Irish-born nun served in Trinidad and Tobago for 52 years after arriving here in 1971. Sister Roberta told Altos that while Credo is in good hands and does what is best for the children and their families, the biggest problem remains funding. She said, quote, "Money is always a big problem. We have a staff of 14 and the sisters in Ireland help. We would like the government and the business community to put this into their planning." End quote. She paid tribute to the team at Credo and the Holy Faith Sisters, who she said were a great source of encouragement. She said, quote, "As I looked back over my 52 years here, I have tremendous gratitude for the people I worked with and managed over the years. We worked together, cooperated, and became great friends. I hope in receiving it that those who were part of the ministry over the years, the board of Credo, and all who worked with me and are part of it would know that I got the medal, but it's for all of them. I get the honor, but I am accepting it on their behalf." End quote. In all, 65 nationals received awards at the annual Republic Day Awards. 3 got the highest award, the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. They are Professor Patrick Hussein, Senior Counsel Russell Martineau, and Mark Loquan, former president of the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
And congratulations to them all. The Catholic Commission for Social Justice is hoping Monday's national budget will allocate more resources to the poorer sections of society and create more opportunities for small businesses. Noting that now more than ever every penny counts, the CCSJ stated that good governance is essential for effective and equitable management of the affairs of Trinidad and Tobago. In a release titled "A Budget Oriented to the Common Good," issued ahead of Monday's presentation of the national budget, the CCSJ noted that Finance Minister Colm Imbe had already warned of challenging times ahead due to declining revenues. According to the CCSJ, this makes it even more imperative that whatever money is available is used, quote, "wisely to improve the quality of life of all our people," end quote. The release, penned by Leela Ramdeen, consultant to the CCSJ, noted that our people are our greatest asset, and with the country grappling high levels of crime and violence, it urged the government to ensure that the resources of the country are used to create conditions which will improve the material living standard of all. The CCSJ also urged an end to corruption, the culture of waste, inefficiency, and the lack of accountability and transparency that exists in certain quarters, which it said hinders progress. The Commission has also proposed that the budget consider the resources required to address the environmental challenges the country faces in light of the impact of climate change. And noted economist Dr. Marlene Atz will be joining us here on Altos after next week's budget. The St. Francis of Assisi RC Church, Belmont, was rededicated on Monday, September 23rd, after 14 years of parishioners celebrated the return to their house of worship. Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon was the main celebrant at the Mass. Lara Pickford-Gordon was there as well and prepared this report.
Archbishop Gordon said of St. Francis RC Church is magnificent in size, style, and elegance, and everything about the building takes the mind and heart up to God. As restoration of the physical building was meticulous, he called for the same attention to the people of God.
As we have spent so much time, attention, energy, and detail so that this building could return to its former glory, we have to spend time, energy, and detail for the people of God to be restored.
The church should not stand as a museum piece, but be a living house where people come to a community that is vibrant.
In a community that engages in the synodal way, listening to each other along the journey as they make their way to Christ. The journey and the rebuilding now begins again and again, as it does in every generation, in every season, and in every time.
The people of God, as a worshiping community, are called to be light in the world. Archbishop Gordon called on the parishioners to spread light.
Every time Father will say, go to love and serve the Lord, he's sending you to take light into every part of this community so that the light of Jesus Christ may light up this land.
The mood was joyous in the packed church. Concelebrating the Mass were Apostolic Nuncio, His Excellency Santiago de Guzman, Parish Priest Father Michael Terrestrial, and other clergy. Responding to Archbishop Gordon, Father Terrestrial said the congregation is committed to building up and restoring the Belmont community. He told the fundraising committee they could have a couple months off, but their work was not done as there was a loan of $2.4 million to be repaid. Father Terrestrial said the reopening of the church was not a victory of a few. I am Lara Pickford-Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
Monsignor Christian Pereira has praised the vision of deceased Archbishop Anthony Pantin, who he said introduced synodality into the local Catholic Church long before it became a buzzword. Monsignor Pereira was delivering the homily as the parish of Laventille-Morvant celebrated 45 years of formation. We have more in this report.
It was a homily with a difference, as Monsignor Christian Pereira recounted for parishioners who may not be aware that in 1977, then Archbishop Anthony Pantin started a synodal journey in Laventille-Morvant, bringing 5 communities of Rosehill, Laventille Shrine, Trumacac, Success Village, and Morvant under the ambit of the Laventille-Morvant pastoral area. And his vehicles for the journey were then young priests Christian Pereira and Clyde Harvey.
In a very prophetic and strange way, Archbishop Pantin had initiated what Pope Francis is trying to do with the church today. He initiated what is called a synodal church.
While he said Archbishop Pantin did not use the term synodal, and it was not used then by the young priests, both he and Harvey knew they had been chosen to move the church in a new direction.
And the experiment of coming here to make the sisters community to gel as one, to become a pastoral unit, was indeed a very prophetic and I dare say synodal experience. We learned and we were forced to listen to God's people.
The current parish priest in Laventille-Morvant is Father Eliezer Molimba. I am Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
A moment of unity, tradition and reflection was hosted by the Catholic student movement at the start of the new academic year at the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus. as Catholic students and staff gathered for a special celebration of Holy Mass. The Mass, held on September 19th, was celebrated by Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon, along with Fathers Michael Woodruff and Jonathan Steele of the Carmelite Order.
We can't just go changing up the gospel, women fancy, to what is convenient to us because this is how we like it. We have to bring our heart to conform with the message of Jesus Christ.
A significant highlight of the Mass was the commissioning of the new Catholic Students Movement Executive, entrusted to lead and serve the Catholic community at UE. The new executive members were blessed by Archbishop Gordon.
And I want to ask you today to be very conscious how you exercise this leadership. You hold something in trust for the whole campus. And what you hold in trust is this message that has been handed on to Paul through the apostles. And I ask you, lead with love. Lead with service. Lead with integrity.
Congratulations to the CSM and the new executive as they step forward into the new academic year. We pray they continue to guide their fellow students in faith. Father Harold Imamsha wants the Roman Catholic faithful to spread the gospel and the good news with the same fervor that gossip is spread. Delivering the homily at a healing mass at St. Peter's RC in Carinage on Republic Day, Father Imamsha also spoke of a personal experience he had on a recent visit to Medjugorje. Roger Sant has more in this report.
A large gathering of faithful turned out at the Carinage RC Church on the Republic Day holiday for a healing mass. Father Harold Imamsha assured them they did not come in vain.
Whatever you have come to pray for today is yours already. Don't ask anymore. It's yours already.
He reminded them that as followers of Jesus Christ, having received the blessings from the sacraments, they have a role to play in making things better.
You ever ask yourself, what is the solution to crime? That's it. That is the solution. And the homework you and I have to do is when we leave here to go out with that blessing and share it.
He urged them to build a network, a community filled with the Holy Spirit.
If our evangelization, if our sharing of the gospel could also be like that, with the same fervor that we put into gossip and spreading messages, what a great message it would be. We would have the gospel, we would have the truth.
Father Imamsha also recounted an encounter in Medjugorje when Our Lady appeared to a visionary and directed her message to her priest sons.
I was so taken aback with that because she said, I'm speaking to you, my beloved priests. And because there are so many children in the world that do not yet know love, I would like you, my beloved priest sons, to be messengers of love.
I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
And the communities of Santa Rosa Heights, Malabar and surrounding areas came together on Republic Day as well for a peace, love and unity walk. The objective was to raise awareness among those involved in criminal activity that there are alternatives to crime. Accompanied by trucks with speakers, members of the communities of Santa Rosa Heights, Malabar, Pinto Road and surrounding areas used the Republic Day holiday to evangelize in their communities as they prayed for an end to crime and violence and for God to heal Trinidad and Tobago. Organizers are hoping that their message will help bring change to the hearts of those involved in criminal activity. They say they will keep pushing through this annual event until there is a change in society. And we thank the media team of the parish of Santa Rosa in Arima for sharing this video. It's time now for us to take a short break, and when we return, we speak with Vicar General Father Martin Sergiu on matters local and international. Before we go though, here's a look at this week's trivia question. Thanks very much for staying with us. Vicar General Father Martin Sergiu has been a priest for about 33 years now. Though small in physical stature, his homilies always seem to pack a heavy punch, tackling head-on the day-to-day bread and butter issues that affect our people. Today we welcome Father Martin to the Altos set for the first time. Father Martin, welcome.
Thank you, Neil.
It's good to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Very long in coming.
Yes, it took some time.
Father, we've just celebrated the country's 48th anniversary of independence, of republicanism, sorry. Tell us, in your opinion, how have things changed, in your view? How have things changed over the last 48 years for you, for this country as a whole?
Well, 48 years is more than a generation, so that's a big gap. And there are many things that have happened since then in terms of technological development, but also one of the big casualties is the whole religious identity across the board, not just among Catholics, but among people in general, all religious traditions. And I think because of the thinning of religious identity, we have a value crisis. I remember many years ago, Pope John Paul II said, so this would have been in the 1980s, that the world, using a theme, a notion from St. John of the Cross, the dark night of the soul, and he said, the world seems to be caught in a collective dark night of the soul. And I think that is where we are at. If we check now 48 years, and that's, as I said, more than a generation. So a great shift has taken place in people's consciousness. We have moved away from our religious traditions providing answers for us, nourishment, opinions, and it has now shifted to the person. And once it shifts to the person, of course, the whole transcendental dimension becomes eclipsed. So I think part of our problem today is the world, including Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, we are in a spiritual crisis. We are in a spiritual dark night of the soul. But the thing is, you can't force people to come out of that. You know, people have to choose to come out of that. And maybe that's one of the good things in the shift in religion, in that now you don't do it because everybody else does it. Now you do it because I want to be there. I want to be in another place.
But Father, off air we were talking, it's interesting you talk about that thinning of the identity. Off air we were talking about the dwindling numbers of persons coming to Mass at the cathedral.
Yes.
And that's a reality that we have to face with.
Yes.
Coupled with that, that thinning of identity, of religious identity, given the country, the state the country is in, do you see a consequential thinning of identity as Trinbagonians? That we no longer see ourselves in that terms as patriotic Trinis, so to speak. That we no longer believe in the ideal of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, I think that is significantly true. And it's one of the consequences of globalization, because once globalization is alive and active as it is, and now AI technology, then we are more impacted by global forces. So how do you balance the global and the local? In an interview recently with Mindy Chokdas, Ryan Beecher did that interview, and Choki said that one of the things we are not doing is we are not passing on education in the true sense of the word. Education related to our identity, our history, our local heroes, who we are, and things like that. But that's not the only way in which it is affected, because we always say that The family is a place that holds society together. If the family is tightly bound, then society will be tightly bound as well. But one of the glues that kept families together, if not the main one, used to be religious practice. Right. So if religious practice has now weakened, then that family bonding and so on, family conflict and things like that will get worse.
The center no longer holds.
Things fall apart. The center no longer holds.
That loss of the transcendental that you speak of, it linked in a number of ways to the proliferation of social ills in the society. We see poverty, we see homelessness. You see it at the cathedral, it's on your very doorstep. How is the church responding to that? I mean, your homilies, speak powerfully to a failure to respond at times. How, in your opinion, you're at the cathedral, what are you seeing? Are we responding as potently as we ought to be responding as church?
Well, I want to bring in here the expression used by Pope Benedict, and that is co-responsibility. And that is, especially today, the pastor, the pundit, the imam, whomsoever, cannot be the only religious leader. He's the main one in the parish, but he must get everybody involved as well. And I think all religions need to do as much as they can, and even more than they are doing, to get into communities, get into households, and to meet people where they are at. Pope Francis keeps saying that what we have to do is to go out. And in his recent visit to places like Indonesia, East Timor, and so on, the Pope has really gone on the periphery. So if we take that global example and then we try to narrow it down, it means that every religious community has to find a way of engaging people in the area, of meeting them where they are at. There is a lot of trauma right now in the country, and if we know of families who have suffered trauma and so on, they need some kind of spiritual help, we should have that network on the ground so that we can go in there and offer whatever assistance we can. Let me say, however, that even though people often say, what are the religions doing? What is the IRO doing? If you look at the macro story, you may not see so much. But if you look on the micro level, there are many ways in which parishes help people from challenged backgrounds, socioeconomic challenges, and help them to move up little by little. I think there has been a disvaluing of education. Once there is a disvaluing of education, society is going to suffer immensely. Amartya Sen had said, the Nobel laureate in economics had said, if you want a stable society, if you want an economic, prosperous society, you have to start with education. I remember my teacher, Father Henry Charles, once said in his family, sometimes they had to choose between books and food, and guess what they chose? Books. They chose books. And so the whole business of education, and also having the necessary ancillary staff to help with the sort of educational problems we have, whether it's ADHD, autism, literacy problems, and so on. But I think if there is a greater valuing of education in families, I think we will see a betterment in society. The church is also doing work in certain areas. So like Father Matthew, who has recently moved into Gonzales, has been doing quite some work in the community. Also, Sister Debbie de Rose next door to me in Sealots there. Sealots is also part of Cathedral community, but because of the turf wars and so on, people can't freely cross from one place into the other.
The borderlines you speak of.
So she has been doing work there for about 7 or 8 years with good results. We just saw the opening of the vocational school in Sealots. And also I work with the police youth group in St. Paul Street. So St. Paul Street is
there's a lot being done.
Yes, I think there's a lot being done. You know, as they say, the bad news gets in the media, the good news doesn't get in the media.
Of course. But Father, you spoke of the traumatization of the society. Where you live on South Key there, you would hear the gunshots, you would hear everything and see everything. Are you traumatized as a priest, not only as a priest, but as a citizen living in downtown Port-au-Spain?
I don't feel traumatized. I don't feel scared either. Maybe if I were to be a victim, you know, personally of some kind of violent crime, I might think differently. But I don't feel afraid on the Brian Lara Promenade.
Okay.
And I walk the streets. When I go walking, sometimes I choose Nelson Street, Piccadilly, Duncan. So I think some people know me. Yeah. I walk in the area. I used to hear more frequently gunshots at night. Almost every other night I will hear gunshots anywhere from 11 to about 2 in the morning. My colleague who was formerly at the shrine, Laventille, Father Trevor Nattersing, he said part of it sometimes is just gunplay, you know, guys showing up their guns late in the night. And I suspect that is true because the next morning I don't hear about anybody being killed.
Right.
So maybe some of it was gunplay and some of it did result in violence. If the police says it's unsafe to go into this area, well, I don't play foolish and go.
You're not going to take any unnecessary chances. But Father, how does that speak to us then about this whole thrust of the church now to synodality? How do we bring that level of synodality or that understanding of synodality to these communities, these traumatized communities? Right.
So synodality, one of the lovely things about synodality is its inclusive dimension. And incidentally, the parish priest of an area, even though parish boundaries have become very fluid, the parish priest of an area was always someone who had a concern not only for his flock, but whosoever lives in the parish. And synodality reminds us of that as a church, focusing on synodality, we must also have a care not only for our own, but for the society at large. So I think synodality impels us to do the best that we can in terms of stabilizing our society. Today is the feast or memory of St. Vincent de Paul, and so that reminds us very importantly of the place of the poor in the life of the church. And one of the major statements coming out from the Second Vatican Council is that the church at the council took an option for the poor. So we have to be involved concretely in the lives of the poor. It's hard to do that when society is becoming increasingly violent. But sometimes I ask myself if more cannot be done, if we cannot all work together in the sense that, you know, it has been said from what I've been seeing in the newspaper, do we have the best crime plan possible? You have people like Darius Figueroa, you have Dr. Randy C. Prasad, you have some other people who have been writing on crime, and they have the data. They have been saying that we have to get into the communities. So it's not only what the church can do, but in a spirit of synodality, what we all can do together. How can we participate? How can we network? And then shift this collective fear that is over the country. And there is a psychiatrist who wrote 2 articles in the Express. Maybe it appeared in the other newspapers, I don't know. He is a resident in the UK, and he said that we are talking about the economic impact, or rather the impact of crime on the economy. But he says we have not been talking enough about the impact of a collective trauma on the society. Because if you don't deal with that trauma, you're dealing with people who are traumatized. They're afraid to come to work. They're afraid to travel and things like that. And he said if the crime gets worse, then that kind of trauma, Dr. Lachman, I think his name is, that kind of trauma will increase. And therefore you have to attend to that as well. And that strikes me as more as a state function. How do we get the best crime plan working so that we can help society relieve that collective trauma. And of course, religious organizations, including the church, will also see how we can come to the assistance of those who grieve. Father Matthew and myself were doing that.
Father, that's a good place for us to end this.
Yes.
It's very brief but very, very informative interview. We thank you very much, and we hope we'll see you at the cathedral or back on the set here at Altos soon, in the not too distant future. Yes?
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Father. Okay. Good having you.
We are taking a leap of faith on Trinity TV. Jump in with us for this new and exciting experience.
You were darkness once, but now you are light in the Lord. Live as children of the light. That was the theme for last Sunday's Jesus Explosion Revival at Trinity College East, Trin-City. The one-day event is the annual follow-up to the Jesus Explosion weekend held during the August holidays. Jesus Explosion director Father Ian Taylor was a celebrant and homilist at the morning Mass. Guest speakers at the revival were Winston Garcia of the People of Praise community, diocesan priests Father Godfrey Stout and Father Raymond Francis. The day included praise and worship and ended with ministry with the Blessed Sacrament. Now here's a look at what's in store in this week's edition of the Catholic News with editor Raymond Sims.
In this week's Catholic News, did you know about the many beneficial uses of rainwater? Our Green Thumb columnist Rihanna Boudram explains why you should begin harvesting rain. And one little creature with a big personality could move many hearts. Read about Mr. Puddles, the cat that adopted a parish. I am Raymond Sims, editor of the Catholic News.
And that's a wrap for this evening's show. We remind you to pray, read your Bible, and learn your faith. As we go, we leave you with the sweet songs of Pan from the Maraval RC School at a blessing on September 20th by Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon, following upgrades done at the school. Do have a wonderful week, everyone. Stay safe. See you next week.
Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.